At a steel factory, a worker almost had an accident. Luckily, Mu Jin ran over and saved him just in time. He immediately asked the foreign man, "Are you okay?" While the foreign man was still in a panic, Mu Jin started pointing out all the problems with the unsafe factory. "Looks like you guys didn't care about health and safety laws at all, huh? It was the 20th century, and you were still running a factory like this?" Yep, Mu Jin was a labor lawyer who was at this unsafe factory to get some bribe money. But, of course, his luck was terrible. And while he was listing all the factory's faults, a pile of steel fell on him, and he died a pointless death. Let's rewind to 2 years ago, when Mu Jin was a well-known lawyer who had been working at a law firm for 10 years. At the time, Mu Jin didn't want to do this job anymore, even though his senior kept trying to talk him out of it. "If you quit now, you won't get your pension later." Mu Jin didn't care at all at the moment, saying, "I wondered if I jumped from here, what would happen to me? Why did they make this safety glass anyway?" Mu Jin's senior was a little curious, wondering what the real reason was that his junior wanted to quit. But then he said, "I guess they made this glass to stop people from doing something stupid, like my junior here." As Mu Jin got to his car, in front of him was a super flashy, silver-white Rolls-Royce owned by his close friend, Jong Min. Turns out, the real reason Mu Jin quit being a lawyer was because this friend had talked him into investing in cryptocurrency. If you risk it, you get a lot. If you don't risk it, you get a little. Investing in crypto is the only way to get rich. But how could he get rich when this friend kept stepping on the gas, making Mu Jin a little scared? So he said, "If you drive this fast, we're going to die." Our man Jong Min said, "You only die once." As a result, Jong Min, who had only appeared in a few scenes, died a pointless death like that too. And Mu Jin was constantly sobbing at the funeral. Everyone thought he was really close to Jong Min, so that's why he was crying so much. Little did they know that Mu Jin had poured all his savings into futures trading, or what's also called day trading, or playing the market. No wonder he cried so loudly after leaving the funeral. At this time, his manager, Chio Yong, came over and asked him, "You lost all your money because of crypto investing? No wonder you suddenly wanted to quit so quickly. So, you're passionate about this playing the market thing." But no problem, the manager consoled him. "If you study to become a labor lawyer, I'll set you up with a job at my company." Mu Jin's eyes lit up, but he complained, "I'll do it if the salary is high. If the salary is low, forget it." But he still made the manager promise him a spot. So, the U40 Mu Jin started studying day and night, even studying while working part-time to study efficiently. And even 8. The knowledge. After a year of hard work, he finally received the notification that he had passed the labor lawyer certification. But then he got the news that his manager had been fired for harassing an employee. He sat gloomily at a bar when a colleague came over and didn't forget to tease him. "You should be celebrating when you hear that news, right? Oh, and Chio Yong harassed a male employee." That made Mu Jin remember how his manager used to get touchy-feely. So it turns out he liked men all along. Mu Jin's life was already unlucky, and now he had to deal with a pervert. At this time, his friend advised him, "Why don't you open your own office?" The problem was that Mu Jin didn't have any money. His friend egged him on to take out a loan. "Are you going to wait until you're 50 and still have nothing? Borrowing is easy, paying it back is hard. You only live once." True best friend material, taking everything for themselves, that's the kind of advice he gave. After the two of them got completely drunk and went home, seeing his friend complaining, "I don't want to work a regular job anymore," Mu Jin retorted, "I'm the one who wants to cry because I don't have a job. Why are only you drunk?" His friend then mocked him. "Our Mu Jin here is a lawyer with a proper certification, not like a regular wage earner like me." While he was saying that, he bumped into a statue and started throwing up. Mu Jin didn't know if he was hallucinating or not, but he apologized to the bronze statue and cleaned it up, even introducing himself to the bronze statue. "I'm a labor lawyer, a noble profession serving those in need." After saying that, he left his business card with the bronze statue, not knowing that his life would change from here, because the certification he spent only 1 year getting would finally have a use. Mu Jin decided to open a labor law office, and then he even hired his sister-in-law to work for him as an employee. Even though she was his sister-in-law, Huiju threatened, "If you don't pay me, I'm going to sue you." And this is the business card with the slogan she was most proud of, "We collect your unpaid wages for you." Seeing his brother-in-law's disappointed face, his sister-in-law got upset. "Fine, I quit." The uncle then criticized her for acting tough when she was unemployed. Huiju started saying that she was busy too. "Booking ads for idols, I barely have time to breathe, and you're saying that." The only problem was that her channel only had 500 subscribers. What was up with these siblings? The only reason this sister-in-law was doing this was so her brother-in-law and her sister wouldn't get divorced, so she could have peace of mind. Otherwise, she would be bothered to death by her sister. Suddenly, the phone rang, and they both thought they had a customer since they had just opened. But it turned out to be that perverted uncle calling. Hearing that his younger brother had just opened an office, he explained to Mujin about being considered a pervert at the company. Actually, I just wanted to show concern and comfort them, because I liked them, but I didn't know I would be considered a pervert. In the end, he still wanted to borrow money from this poor and broke younger brother. The only problem was that they were both getting close to the deadline for paying their rent. So Mujin didn't have any money to lend. Right now, the two of them were hungry. So the first thing to do was to hand out business cards everywhere to find customers to hire him as a lawyer. But going from place to place, Mujin couldn't find a single customer. Even buying instant noodles, he had to use a discount card, but the card didn't work. So he had no choice but to go hungry. After working hard for a while, the only thing he could do now was to post information about a 50% discount on consultations. At the bottom of his poverty, besides his work, Mujin could only look at his wife and children whenever he missed them, because he had pawned all his assets and been kicked out by his wife. So he couldn't go home. Suddenly, the next morning, Mujin was constantly awakened by a loud knock at the door. He looked outside and only saw a person on fire, and after a while, he opened his eyes and realized it was just a dream. The real person was the landlord coming to demand the office rent. But he had to open his phone to see what the dream about fire meant. Fire means good luck, business will pick up and make money. That made him happy, and he went to water his plants. Thank you, because every plant dies except for you. His sister-in-law said, that's a fake plant, the real ones all died. And then, she started packing her things like she wanted to move out, which made Mujin completely helpless at this point. And he said, no wonder you're still alive. He angrily started gathering his things, saying, sell whatever you can sell, I shouldn't have opened this office. When you're unlucky, everything you do is unlucky. Mujin went back to cry to his parents, but he immediately got the response. As long as you're still failing, you're still alive. It's better than failing when you're about to reach old age. The next day, because she felt sorry for her brother-in-law, his sister-in-law took Mujin to meet a friend who worked with her. This friend was Gan Un, who made videos on TikTok and YouTube with Huiju. To ask this friend for help, Huiju said that she had to bribe him with an automatic coffee machine. When Mujin asked this younger friend how many subscribers the YouTube channel had, he honestly said close to 1,000,000. That made him a little itchy, but specifically it was 50,000 subs, which made him switch to a look of disdain. Huiju said that this friend was a patriotic Korean, so the channel was only about love for Korea and nothing else. But the purpose for bringing him here wasn't to talk about this, but about how to make use of Mujin's labor lawyer certification. According to the analysis this younger friend found on social media, there are very few companies in the market that guarantee workplace safety for workers, and the number of small companies across the country must be over 500,000 companies. This is a huge source of income if they can make good use of it. But when Mujin asked what the success rate of this was and what they had to do, the younger friend said, the job we're all about to do is to go to places that don't ensure workplace safety, report them, and make them change, thereby making them cough up bribe money to get through it. But as for the success rate, when he looked at the notes written on the younger friend's arm, he saw that the success rate was less than 1%. Seeing that, he ignored the two of them and left. In the evening, when he got home, his older sister asked Huiju what she had been doing all day. She didn't intend to tell her, so her sister just asked for the sake of asking. She knew that her younger sister was with her good-for-nothing husband. Huiju got upset and said, don't call my brother-in-law a good-for-nothing, Mujin. Her sister started listing things off. Not only is he a good-for-nothing, but he also steals food from children. His wallet doesn't have a single dollar, and he only shakes coins on Shopee to receive gifts, and he even licked bird poop while eating ice cream. He's a person without any luck. After hearing that, the younger sister said, then he's pitiful, not unlucky. The next day, although he didn't really believe in the plans of these two younger people, Mujin had no choice. He was too poor, so he had to go along with it. But he didn't expect that this job would be completely smooth sailing, just because he had knowledge of the law. The bribe money kept filling up until the whole team arrived at a steel factory. The three of them wanted to divide up the money again. Mujin said to divide it 60/40ths, him getting 60 and the two of them getting 40, but Huiju didn't agree with that. He was taking 60%, and the two of them had to split only 20% each. Mujin started saying that if he didn't have the knowledge here, how could the whole team operate? But because he felt sorry for his younger sister, he split it 50/50ths, with each of them getting 25%. The younger friend, Gan Un, said he could take 20%, but just wait a moment. It turned out he had acute diarrhea. So Mu-jin and Huiju went inside first to negotiate with the manager there. While Huiju was talking to the manager there, she found out that he was the director's son. Furthermore, he wasn't afraid of Huiju's group coming here, thinking that she was committing fraud and threatening to call the police. But Huiju was also a tough person, not afraid of anything, and said, "Try calling the police here and see who gets arrested. We're coming here according to the law, so we're not afraid of anything. Let's see who loses more money then." Meanwhile, the opening scene of our movie appears. Mu-jin enters the steel factory, saves the foreign man, asks him if he's okay, and then starts making a fuss about how this place isn't being managed properly, saying that's why so many accidents are recorded here. Just as he finished speaking, a hook behind him crashed into the steel, knocking Mu-jin out of consciousness without him even realizing it. In Mu-jin's mind at that moment, he saw his family, from when he was a baby to when he grew up, flash by in an instant. Everyone asked where Mu-jin was, and one person after another thought he was dead and only thought about themselves. He wasn't anything special to them. Mu-jin didn't understand what was happening, saying that he wasn't dead yet, but everyone said that he would be soon. What's the point of living if you're just selfish? Suddenly, a person on fire outside the door caught Mu-jin's attention. He opened the door, and standing before him was a man who looked to be in his 20s. Talking to him, he asked, "Why are you standing there like an idiot?" That made Mu-jin wonder why he was talking to him like that. This man said that he was old enough to talk to him like that. "Seeing that you want to live, I came to help you. There are countless hardworking souls who died unjustly, and even after dying they still wander the earth. But I'm too busy to take care of all of them. That's why Mu-jin appeared in this space." The man in front of him made him sign a labor contract, with the task of helping wandering souls rest in peace and be liberated. A noble profession serving those in need is what a labor lawyer like Mu-jin does. After saying that, he gave Mu-jin the contract and made him sign it. Either you sign and continue living or you die, that's all. Although he hesitated a bit, you only get to die once. According to what his brother Jong-min taught him, Mu-jin signed the labor contract because he didn't want to die yet. This connection came about because of the night he went drinking. He left his business card with the statue of this death god, so he was given amnesty. As a result, Mu-jin wasn't crushed by the steel beams. He was still alive and kicking, except that when he woke up, he was so scared that he peed his pants. Getting into the car, his sister-in-law immediately scolded him. "We were about to close the deal successfully, and you ruined it." But Gan-eun thought that this was proof that the whole team could close this deal. Mu-jin came to his senses and told his two younger partners that he had met a man, but there was a guy sitting next to him, which startled him, and the others were startled too, thinking that he was hallucinating. Mu-jin went to psychological therapy, but everywhere he went, he saw the image of that young man following him. Arriving at the office, when he saw that only Hueju was in the room, he asked where Gan-eun was. He had just walked out, and Mu-jin breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that there were no ghosts. But then the ghost was sitting next to Huiju, making him scream loudly. So, the younger friend, Gan-eun, came up with the title, "Labor Lawyer Can See Ghosts." And he was sure that posting this on TikTok would attract a lot of views. However, the two of them believed Mu-jin, saying that if he could really see ghosts, they must need help. So, those two younger partners started recording a video. But Mu-jin really saw a ghost, thinking that he was acting, not to be believed. Meanwhile, Mu-jin started asking the wronged spirit, and he replied that he was Min-eun, a high school graduate who had just graduated. To reassure his mother, he lied that he had found a job, but he didn't say that he was working at a steel factory. The director managing the place brought him to a place to stay, which the promotional material said was a private residence. But it was more like a warehouse where Min-eun lived with a foreigner, Nemo, whom Mu-jin had met during that time. When he started his apprenticeship, Min-eun said that those people made him clean the machine while the machine was still running, and he had to figure it out himself. If the cutting machine or anything stopped working, it would only slow down the work progress. Min-eun at that time didn't want his mother to worry, so he texted her that he was eating 3 hearty meals and that there was also a gym, so she shouldn't worry. But those were just words of comfort. Every parent worries when their children go far away. But before he got to the reason why he died, Mu-jin was pinched a few times by his younger friend, Gan-eun, until his jaw was bruised. Gan-eun asked, "We were just joking around, and you're really doing it?" The whole group then showed Mu-jin the video of him standing there like a statue. Mu-jin realized that he had been possessed by a ghost and told his younger partners. But none of them believed what he said, saying that they had only heard of it but never seen it. Out of curiosity, the whole group decided to get in the car and go to that steel factory. Mu-jin said that the ghost had been following the team from that place, so now they had to find out some information about it. Even though Gan-un just looked the part, he had a friend who was a reporter at a big company. Huiju said that he used to study at university and used to be a reporter. At this moment, Gan-un brought his friend along and introduced this older brother as a lawyer. Just as he arrived, Huiju butted in and said that she was Gan-un's girlfriend, like she wanted to mark her territory with this friend. During the interview, Yo-jin said that the school didn't want to mention this case that year because it was quite haunting. Meanwhile, the accident that Min-un had that year happened outside of working hours. But Huiju wondered if this looked more like he was forced to do it. Yo-jin added that this case had also been settled between the victim's family and the factory, so she couldn't know more about the deeper investigation. During the conversation, Gan-un kept smiling at his friend, which made Huiju a little jealous and sulky, and she left. He came out to flatter her. "Since you said you were my girlfriend just now, today is our first day, okay?" But she didn't care, telling him to go and smile at his friend from before. He looked like he was having a lot of fun. Seeing this scene, Mu-jin only knew to encourage his younger partner. "Hang in there." The whole group continued to ask for information at Min-un's school, but the teacher who used to teach him didn't remember anything. Suddenly, the younger friend Gan-un ran in and said that he had contacted Min-un's mother, so the whole group immediately went to his house. The mother started talking about Min-un's situation. Since he was young, he had lost his father in an accident, and he was very close to his father. "I'm sure my husband must be blaming me for letting him go up there too soon." Min-un sat on the side, unable to hold back his tears as he heard his mother's words. Her current dream was to try to be able to reunite with her husband and son as soon as possible. And of course, she didn't want to mention anything more about this case. Because he was so small, Gan-un also started crying on the side, saying, "Auntie, if you cooperate with us, when you go up there later, you can proudly brag to your son that thanks to him, this world has become a better place." When they got back to the office, Huiju asked why he was crying like that. Gan-un said that the tears just came out naturally. He didn't do anything. Mu-jin wondered if he was secretly smart and pretending to be stupid, but the evidence was too clean. They even thoughtfully sent it to the victim, so the whole group didn't know how to handle this case. Suddenly, in the record at almost 12 o'clock, the night before the Mid-Autumn Festival, Mu-jin realized that those people made this student work through the holiday instead of letting him go home. Mu-jin said that those bastards were doomed. There was also a photo of this friend taken with the foreigner Nemo, so the friend might be able to help the team in some way. But first, the whole group would try to have the younger friend Gan-un dress up as a student and apply for a worker position. The first thing they had to do was buy work clothes first. Before the interview, Gan-un carefully installed recording devices on his phone. During the interview, the director said that he wouldn't increase his salary because Gan-un already had experience. Not to mention that he made him start a trial period immediately without signing any contract. Currently, Gan-un's identity was Guk Jin. The factory manager took him to see the surrounding machines without any safety training. As for the foreign friend, the manager honestly said that although he didn't understand Korean, he could do the work and had a low salary. "I used to hire some intern kids, but something happened, so I don't hire them anymore." The whole group knew that all of them had been involved in workplace accidents. After saying that, he told the friend Nemo to instruct Gan-un. Remember to instruct him properly. But this friend understood Korean very well. He just didn't want to talk to the manager. Nemo said that he was taught by a good teacher, so he was really good at hiding it. Meanwhile, the director was watching a patriotic program when he saw that the person on the program looked like that new intern kid. It couldn't be a coincidence. Nemo, on the other hand, looked at Gan-un and immediately knew that he was filming everything here. Knowing that he had been exposed, Gan-un also admitted that he was here to help by exposing the dangerous working conditions to punish those who exploited other people's labor. But this friend, Nemo, didn't want to do that, because if he did, he would be deported. The two of them were so busy chatting that the manager noticed and told them to get to work. But Gan-un didn't give up, and had to persuade this foreigner until the end. During a short break, he gave him the notebook that Min-un used to record his diary about Nemo, about his profile and the hobbies he had. There was even a plan to make money with Nemo and visit his family. Gan-un said that he must have liked him a lot, but because they didn't get much rest, the two of them quickly had to go to work. But Gan-un didn't expect that the factory owner would be there today too. He quickly suspected that Gan-un wasn't from here, and asked him how he got here. He blankly turned around and asked, "Me? I came here by bus, but there were no bus stops around here." Everyone immediately suspected that Gan-un was a spy. A worker came and said that this guy was a thief. He saw him taking a dump in the garden the other day. So he was quickly surrounded and arrested by the workers for the reward of 100,000 But they couldn't catch Gan-un. He was a professional ballet dancer, dancing back and forth. making the workers run into each other and fall. Suddenly, a guy went big and drove a crane over, forcing Gan-un to grab onto the crane cable and jump onto the roof of the forklift. But he quickly fell off the roof. Mu-jin and Hui-ju outside saw that the situation was not good and quickly drove in to pick him up. But as soon as they got outside the gate, the police were there to block the path of all three of them. Seeing that, the director falsely accused, "I saw this guy being suspicious from the beginning." Hui-ju stood up to protect them, saying that they were making content exposing crimes through videos, and that the people here had caused a young boy to die because he wasn't allowed to rest on the holiday. The director said that he had already negotiated with the family and that they had no evidence. Just as he was about to take out the evidence, Gan-un's phone didn't turn on because it had been hit hard earlier. Now, because there was no evidence to prove it, the three of them were suspected of illegal intrusion. Suddenly, the foreign friend stood up and said, "Don't call my friend a kid." He pulled out the phone that recorded the video of the accident on the night of the Mid-Autumn Festival. At that time, Min-un and Nemo were studying Korean together, and Nemo recorded the video. At that time, the steel press was stuck, so the manager told Min-un to fix the machine because he couldn't let the work be delayed. The accident quickly happened, and everyone panicked and quickly went to rescue Min-un. But the big director told the small managing director to just let this pass and let him die. Moreover, the person trapped inside wouldn't survive, so he had to make sure that the workers kept their mouths shut and then let them go home. Meanwhile, Nemo begged for his friend but was not agreed to. To find justice for his friend, Nemo recorded a video of his friend being forced to death in the steel crushing machine when no one was paying attention. He told the police that his friend could have lived. He would still be alive if those two old guys hadn't stopped us from saving him. Mu-jin began to show his lawyer skills, ignoring standard internship agreements, making them work through the holidays, and covering up the scene and falsifying records. In the file, he recorded the accident at 23:50, but in reality, the video was at 12:05 in October. At that time, the law protecting minors was applied nationwide. Logically speaking, he would have to be sentenced to 7 years in prison and pay compensation of up to 100,000,001. The director asked him if he was joking, saying there was no way it was 7 years. Mu-jin asked, "Is that a little low? Then we also have to calculate the falsification of records for the victim's family, which will result in an additional year in prison and 10 million in fines." Hearing these words, the small director got itchy and reached out to punch him, but Hui-ju used her younger partner, Gan-un's face, as a shield. "Now we have another reason to sue for more money. We're poor." The younger friend, Gan-un, froze, not believing that he was being used in this way, and couldn't help but doubt his existence. In the end, this case was quickly brought to the newspapers. A foreign friend bravely stood up to testify to protect his friend. The next day, the team brought the video that Nemo sent to Min-un's mother to watch. She was very moved that her son was exonerated. Her son, whom she had felt so much longing for over the years, could now rest in peace. After returning, Mu-jin didn't forget to do the action that her son often did, making her unable to resist approaching and hugging her son. "Now you can rest in peace." Mu-jin's first mission was successful. Thanks to being a labor lawyer, the whole team was delighted because their first mission was a success. But suddenly, on the way, the power lines broke, as if a premonition was coming to Mu-jin's team. After being dragged to the world of the dead, Mu-jin wondered why he was there after successfully saving someone. The Grim Reaper said, "The contract clearly states that you have to save many people, not just one, and you have to work 24 hours a day, or you'll die." Mu-jin wondered. There weren't any of these clauses at the beginning. Not to mention you didn't even read the document carefully. This is so unfair. Even knowing that, Mu-jin had no choice. Either be a capitalist slave to the Grim Reaper, or die. That's it. Life is long. My wife hasn't come back yet. How can Mu-jin give up so easily? So he cursed that he would report the Grim Reaper to the Department of Labor, and woke up. After waking up, the doctor said, "The patient's spirits are very stable, except for talking in his sleep." Mu-jin said that he saw the Grim Reaper, which made the young woman wonder what he looked like. But looking around the treatment room, everyone was injured, and he didn't know who was real and who was fake. "I guess I'll have to go to therapy after this." Even getting in the car to leave the hospital, Mu-jin was obsessed with meeting ghosts, even though he was a patient. So to relieve stress, he went for a mud bath to relax his mind. Gan-un received a message from his friend, which made Hui-ju curious and jealous, asking, "Is that your college friend?" Gan-un asked, "Are you jealous? Do you want to date me?" She scoffed and said, "I'll date your fist. You're just good looking." Just then, Hui-ju's sister passed by. Gan-un said, "We've had 2,000 new subscribers this month. so we're almost at the silver button. Specifically, we need almost 50,000 more subscribers. Seeing that her younger sister was wearing her shirt, Huiju went crazy, wanting her sister to take off her shirt in the street. Luckily, Gan-un stopped her, or they would have fought. Even sitting together to drink, they argued. Gan-un suggested, "If I post this topic, it will be super hot." Mu-jin had just woken up after a beautiful dream. Next to him, unexpectedly, was a woman with a bloody face who disappeared, making him involuntarily think he was hallucinating. He started groping around. "I must be hallucinating, because I'm working too much." When he got back, Mu-jin was still worried, as if afraid of being haunted. He quickly ran to his office and turned on all the lights. While he was relieved, a nurse was sitting in Mu-jin's seat, which startled him, asking, "What do you want to say?" But instead of saying anything, the woman just held out her card. "I'm Un-yong." Then she entered Mu-jin without saying another word. The next day, when Huiju arrived at the office, she only saw her brother-in-law Mu-jin standing in front of the mirror, admiring himself, looking quite handsome. He turned around and said, "Let's go to work." Huiju was confused, thinking her brother was sick, so she followed him to the hospital. Mu-jin acted like he was having difficulty breathing, and began to worry and fear and then fainted. Until a male doctor came to examine Mu-jin. He went crazy because he was possessed. "Why are you still working here?" Huiju thought her brother wasn't feeling well, so she just forced Mu-jin to rest, telling him not to cause trouble. A moment later, Gan-un also arrived. Huiju said, "You can't imagine what's wrong with my brother-in-law." But just a few minutes after turning around, he had disappeared. Meanwhile, the doctor who had examined Mu-jin earlier was going back to work and was slapped by him. As he was about to call security, this doctor heard the words that he used to scold a nurse in this hospital. "Do you scum have the right to wear this white coat?" Then the possession entered Mu-jin, and he lunged forward and punched the doctor in the face several times. Because he was considered to be causing trouble, Mu-jin was also kicked out of the hospital. At this time he woke up, saying, "If I tell you, you too won't believe me." Huiju then retold everything, from Mu-jin losing control, grabbing the doctor's neck, and then grabbing his hair and slapping him incessantly. As he was still trying to understand what was going on from his two younger siblings, Mu-jin saw a nurse's body lying on the ground, looking straight into his eyes. This was the nurse who had possessed him. The doctor, on the other hand, was seeing ghosts, wondering if what he saw was an illusion because he hadn't heard the chanting. Meanwhile, at home, his sister-in-law kept demanding this month's salary to quit her job, and Mu-jin told her, "There's a nurse named Un-yong who was severely abused at that hospital." Huiju was scared because it involved spiritual things and ghosts. However, she still asked Mu-jin, "How do we avenge this girl?" Her younger brother, Gan-un, also investigated information about this case. On the 29th, a nurse at a hospital in Yunggu did a foolish thing because of a breakup with her boyfriend. As the reason, Mu-jin thought this case seemed to be covered up. Now, they all understood that every time Mu-jin talked nonsense, it meant he was possessed. Gan-un said that this matter should be thought about with reason, not with emotions. So he took the two siblings to see a shaman, to see if there was a spirit possessing Mu-jin. After banging the bell for a long time, until his ears hurt, she foretold Mu-jin's love life. But he wasn't there for that. Huiju asked her to foretell the spirit following her brother. The shaman suddenly became possessed, saying that the person following Mu-jin was someone they could never defeat, because it was a general who had helped Mu-jin to live in this world. Mu-jin's element was water, but it was evaporated by the fire element. If the person protecting him disappeared, Mu-jin would definitely die. Hearing this, her younger brother, Gan-un, took the opportunity to ask the shaman to foretell his love life. She said, "You better keep your mouth shut, just like the girl next to you advises." As they were about to leave, the shaman said that Mu-jin was very susceptible to possession. The solution was the amulets that she was selling at a 30% discount, with the shopping cart link on the shaman's YouTube channel, with a silver button. Gan-un felt that he was even worse than a shaman, but he still bought the amulet because he was a little scared. The three of them even went to see a priest to confess and ask for holy water, throwing it straight at Mu-jin, but they didn't have that there. So the three of them continued to go to the temple to pray to Buddha, but after praying all day, they only felt tired and sweaty, and no one could help Mu-jin. Just because he was possessed, everyone started to become superstitious. Mu-jin took precautions against possession, and even bought several sutra rings to carry with him. As he was lying in front of the convenience store, the employee came out and chased him away, saying that if Mu-jin kept lying there, he would be fined. He also asked Mu-jin if this job made a lot of money, looking at this poor old man who had to buy things with a discount card in front of his younger brother. It was enough to understand. After buying things and coming home, before he could finish eating the sausage, Nurse Un-yong appeared in front of him. wanting to possess him. Suddenly, the Grim Reaper appeared next to him, allowing the nurse to do so, causing Mu Jin to continue to fall into a dream, experiencing the memories of the deceased. In that year, when she was a new nurse at the hospital, Nurse Eun-yong was always bullied by Nurse Seo. Although she had worked overtime at the hospital a lot this week, because she was under too much pressure, she even mistakenly called her patient Grandma, causing Nurse Eun-yong to be scolded without a single word, even texting her boyfriend to be called to work. One day, Nurse Eun-yong even arrived 30 minutes early, but was still bullied by Nurse Seo, constantly scolding her, causing Nurse Eun-yong to only endure it. Meanwhile, the two younger siblings, Hui-ju and Gan-eun, were walking together, wondering what their brother was doing now. Seeing their brother lying on the chair, they thought Mu Jin was just sleeping. But it turned out that Mu Jin was currently experiencing the feelings of Nurse Eun-yong, according to the Grim Reaper. Although he tried to resist, the Grim Reaper told him that he had to see that memory to know how resentful this person was. Hearing this, Mu Jin decided to close his eyes and watch again. This time in front of him was Dr. Hoon-gu, the person who had been possessed and beaten by Nurse Eun-yong, standing in front of him. At that time, Nurse Eun-yong was in charge of a patient and followed the instructions of Dr. Hoon-gu and tried to advise him on how to prescribe, but he just told Nurse Eun-yong to listen to him because she had been working overtime all week and was too tired. Nurse Eun-yong also confided in her senior, saying that she felt like doing something foolish because of the pressure, but when she heard her senior say that if she hadn't worked for a year, it would be difficult to find another job, she tried to stay for a while longer, but her complaint to the superiors was scolded by her senior, saying that she was just uncomfortable because she had to work early and was sleep deprived. Nurse Seo blamed and scolded Nurse Eun-yong, but because there was an urgent emergency, everyone had to quickly gather. That was the patient that Dr. Hoon-gu had told Nurse Eun-yong to follow his instructions. And because of this, she was blamed by the patient's wife. Dr. Hoon-gu was like that, and put all the responsibility on Nurse Eun-yong, making her more and more helpless. Meanwhile, the head of the department, wanting to cover up the matter, advised Dr. Hoon-gu to plan to block everyone's mouths, not allowing anyone to reveal anything. And this was also heard by Nurse Eun-yong. Because she had no voice and couldn't reclaim her honor, Nurse Eun-yong did something foolish and injustice. When she jumped down, Mu Jin was able to experience this feeling, making him angry, asking why he had to experience it. At this time, the Grim Reaper said that if he didn't let him be possessed, how could he understand the patient's feelings? Anyway, he should listen to him because the shaman advised him to. From that day on, the office, which seemed like no one was afraid of ghosts, was plastered with amulets everywhere. And even the sister who wasn't superstitious was now following both Buddhism and Christianity. Amen, Buddha. Mu Jin said to get rid of all this stuff and look at the weather, but his hand was chanting scriptures online. Saying he wasn't afraid was just a lie. At this time, in order to solve this case, Mu Jin and his younger siblings analyzed each event that he saw in Nurse Eun-yong's memory. Simply put, in order to be recognized as negative things related to work, the group would have to find evidence that there was a cause, and secondly, that the foolish thing was done based on the mental instability. Now the main thing to do was to find the patient's family first. Mu Jin didn't expect his sister-in-law to have found the victim's younger brother long ago, and Nurse Eun-yong's friend, Shin-yong. That evening when she got home, Hui-ju's sister asked her, "If you're not serious about your relationship, don't hang out with Gan-eun. Don't give him false hope." Hui-ju said, "His standards are too high. Gan-eun can't meet them." But every time someone texted her, she was jealous. When her sister asked her, she just said, "It's none of your business. You say that, but you act like you'll die without your brother-in-law." So it's true that neither sister would give in to the other. The next day, Mu Jin went to Nurse Eun-yong's house. He learned that she always told her parents that things were fine at the hospital. But in reality, it was just to make the two of them worry less. After hearing the news, the family only knew that this case was considered the end of life due to a breakup. So Nurse Eun-yong's family didn't know what to do at the time. Meanwhile, at the hospital, two nurses went to see the head nurse, saying that someone from the labor office had come to see her. It was the labor lawyer's office that took Nurse Eun-yong's case, but this nurse didn't care or pay attention to this case, just ignored it and continued to work. That evening, Dr. Hoon-gu and Nurse Seo were panicking about why someone was digging up this case again. The doctor told Nurse Seo to control the situation and the other nurses, and that the secret couldn't be revealed. In the end, he blamed her for bullying Eun-yong, which is why someone is digging up the case. He told Nurse Seo to do everything she could to prevent this from being revealed, making her feel very tired. She was no different from Eun-yong, the person she used to bully. The next day, Moo Jin and his sister-in-law went to the law office that had previously handled the case to find clues. The lawyer told them that he had handled it before, but there was no evidence at all. So it was over. Knowing that Moo Jin had just opened an office, the lawyer told him with a slightly contemptuous tone that he should try his hand. When they met the police inspector, they only learned that Eun Yong had a boyfriend and lived very happily. But there were no signs of a crime, so the police were helpless. The police said that there was a rumor that it was due to impulsiveness or emotional pain that she did something foolish, which sounded the most reasonable. But in reality, Moo Jin didn't see it that way. When he went to the convenience store to buy some water, Moo Jin discovered that Yoon Jae worked there almost every day without a day off. He introduced himself as a lawyer with a badge worth 1.4 million won, which made his sister Hui Ju criticize him for being pretentious, saying it wasn't 99k gold. Moo Jin ignored his sister and told Yoon Jae to call him if he needed anything to find more clues. At this time, Ganan also planned to use the media to make this case bigger if the hospital had covered up and concealed the truth. Suddenly, Moo Jin remembered that Eun Yong had made a complaint and it had fallen under the cabinet. Now the team had a reason to look for clues at the hospital. So Ganan had to disguise himself as a handsome, tall doctor. Wherever he went, he attracted the attention of women, making Hui Ju jealous, telling him to focus on his work. In the end, he took out the mirror and took a selfie. Hui Ju, don't worry, only the women will be seduced, not me. So crossing the hospital, Moo Jin noticed that the nurse who had bullied Eun Yong had just passed by, telling him to stay here and watch if anything happened, similar to Eun Yong that year. Nurse SEO was constantly scolded and criticized by the head nurse for not being able to do her job. Even if she worked overtime, she was blamed the same. Suddenly, another nurse saw Gan-eun's handsome face and asked him if he was a new intern doctor. Taking advantage of his good looks, Moo Jin urged Gan-eun to ask where the equipment room was, so he could get the complaint form. Now everyone in the hospital was rumored about a super handsome new doctor, who was also tall and looked like a model, making Eun Yong's old friend Shin Yong curious to ask if there was something going on. Today, the nurse in front of her revealed that a new male intern doctor had arrived. Shin Yong wondered that the new intern doctor was male, not female. Meanwhile, in order to distract everyone in the hospital so that his brother could escape, Moo Jin deliberately passed through the hall so that the guards would chase him. After this incident, the nurses who knew about the bullying and oppression in the hospital stood up to protect the rights of workers, especially her friend Shin Yong and the nurse who used to bully Eun Yong. The hospital had made everyone sign a pledge when Eun Yong did something foolish, only allowing them to report to the police that the victim was suffering after a breakup and had fallen into an extreme state. If this was exposed, then everyone would be seen as a bully, and the hospital's reputation would be ruined. On the broadcast, Gan-eun also asked, "There is also another event that was hidden, which is the fault of a doctor named Hoon Gu, who ordered Eun Yong to follow his instructions, and in the end, blamed her." After the live broadcast, someone claiming to be Eun Yong's ex-boyfriend messaged Gan-eun. He called everyone out to provide more evidence that his girlfriend was forced to work too hard, without even having time to eat. The ex-boyfriend also mentioned that Eun Yong had wanted to quit a long time ago, but had heard that she would be threatened and not be able to enter the industry again. So she had tried to work to the point of almost being depressed. The ex-boyfriend felt regretful that he couldn't understand his girlfriend at the time and couldn't do anything. Moo Jin immediately stood up and wrapped his arms around him, making everyone look at each other in confusion. His sister-in-law dared to ask if he was hugging him as Eun Yong or as himself. "It must be Eun Yong, because my brother-in-law can't be like that." After this incident, Nurse SEO also remembered that the complaint she had destroyed was still at the hospital. She quickly found it and sent it to Moo Jin's office. Now they had everything to verify it. The group started live streaming on YouTube to attract the media, exposing the fake face of the hospital, which included the victim's family, and of course, promoting the lawyer for this case. Then the prosecution, after receiving the news, also sent people to the hospital to collect all the documents, making Dr. Hoon Gu, who had harmed Eun Yong, uneasy. So he had to go to see a psychologist for treatment, saying that he often saw something recently, even though he had done all the tests. The doctor told him that he needed psychological treatment more than physical treatment. News about Gan-eun's YouTube channel also became famous for exposing the truth, making him proud and calling everyone to subscribe to his channel. After this incident, everyone came to visit the nurse who was treated badly at the hospital. Among them was Nurse SEO. The person who used to bully Eun Yong also came to mourn her junior colleague. Eun Yong, after being vindicated, also forgave Nurse SEO because she was also a victim. So Eun Yong could sympathize, and finally she could rest in peace and go to heaven. Then, just when he thought his life was bright, The Grim Reaper summoned Mu Jin to his place in a way that couldn't be more gentle, which was being hit by a car. After being summoned down to the third world by the soul car method, Mu Jin finally wondered, "Why do I keep saving people, but you keep sending me to die?" The god of death argued back, "I'm the one who saved you. That bus driver was forced to work overtime. They were supposed to get a 15-minute break every 2 hours of driving." In other words, what killed Mu Jin was this capitalist system that wouldn't let the driver have a 15-minute break. Mu Jin complained, "If you want to punish me, at least give me a reason. Why do I have to experience death multiple times?" The god of death just said, "Think about it for a bit," and then sent Mu Jin back. Now, his 2 younger siblings rushed over in a panic, asking if their brother was okay. The driver was just careless for a few seconds, but Mu Jin didn't blame them. What was to blame? Was this work system. When he got back to the office, he told his 2 younger siblings that he needed to change the system, and he would have to go into politics and become a congressman. His younger brother, Gon-un, immediately looked back at the documentary footage of his brother's poverty, just in case his brother really became a congressman later. His younger sister, Hui Ju, on the side kept criticizing her brother. "If a nobody like you becomes a congressman, this country is probably doomed." Suddenly, a phone call came in. "Hello, Mu Jin Law Office speaking." It turned out he received a call from his mother, so he also went home to check things out. His older brother told Mu Jin that their mother had been acting a bit strange lately. While they were just chatting casually, a small dog came to see Mu Jin. His older brother said their mother brought it home. Right after his older brother left, Mu Jin's mother came back and teased her son. "So you decided to visit your mom today, huh? Your wife left you, so you miss your parents, right?" Seeing the puppy run towards the door near a woman about his mother's age and greet her, his mother asked in surprise, "Who are you greeting?" He suddenly realized the woman in front of him was the next lost soul he had to help. He didn't expect this person to be someone his mother knew. So that evening in his room, Mu Jin tried to ask questions, but this woman couldn't say a single word, leaving him unsure how to help. The woman was really trying to speak. Suddenly, Mu Jin's mother opened the door, making him yell out loud as if he'd seen a ghost. She even thought her son was mentally unstable because his wife had left him. During dinner, Mu Jin asked his mother, "Has anyone passed away recently?" She then talked about a poor friend of hers named Yong Suk, who used to be a colleague and was the owner of that little dog. Not to mention, the 2 of them were also close friends, who had worked together for a good 15 years. His mother continued to say that day, because of a heart attack, this friend didn't go to work, and no one answered when she called. Mu Jin's mother was the one who found her, and she's still haunted by that incident. To find out where his mother and the unfortunate friend worked, Mu Jin went to ask his father. He found out that she would put on makeup every 3 months, and when he asked where she was going, she would just stammer out excuses. Mu Jin followed her and discovered that it seemed like she was having an affair with another man. But when he continued to follow, his mother went to some kind of multi-level marketing company, where the managers were very strict about appearance and dress code. Mu Jin took advantage of no one paying attention to sneak into his mother's room. A test was being given here, as if checking something for older people. Mu Jin took advantage of no one paying attention, and had already turned on the recording before starting to observe the actions of the person in charge. He called this place the Hall of Wisdom, lighting up 1,000 knowledge, saying only wise people could pass the test to continue working. When the test began, there would be a question every minute, and each question was very difficult for middle-aged people like Mu Jin's mother. He looked around. Everyone's faces were incredibly anxious. For those who couldn't answer any questions, the test proctor forced the elderly people here to be good at English and Chinese, and if they couldn't answer, they would be failed. It was this barrage of pressure that made Mu Jin's mother's friend feel short of breath. He directly walked out, coincidentally overhearing what those test proctors, who only knew how to bully the elderly, were saying. This company was trying to cut staff in the most indirect way possible, which was through this test. After learning about the struggles at the company his mother was working at, Mu Jin directly took his mother to a coffee shop to help her relieve stress after a tiring test session caused by those capitalists who wanted to cut staff. After a while, he gathered all his courage and asked why his mother hadn't mentioned this kind of test at work to him. She said having to dress up and take those silly tests just to keep her job was quite embarrassing. She didn't want her son or family to know she was in this situation. Mu Jin asked his mother if she felt anything, and she felt a bit short of breath and stressed. He was sure his mother's friend must have felt that kind of pressure too, remembering how the manager used to oppress the deceased friend, even for a janitor job. They had to take these silly tests, and on top of that, they had to beg and kneel before the manager just to keep their seat. It was truly difficult. Because of being overly oppressed every time she worked, Mu Jin's mother's friend would have a heart attack just like that. because she had been warned before. To help each other keep their jobs, Mr. Zhang Ji gathered everyone to study the knowledge that would be on those ridiculous tests, which somewhat allowed everyone to feel at ease while working. But after a while, not seeing his friend Yong-suk anywhere, Mujin's mother went to where she was staying and found that she had passed away at her desk, just from studying too much. Mujin told his mother that she had to try anyway to fight for justice for everyone here. Back at his law office, Mujin told his 2 younger siblings that that university was making janitors take tests, and anyone who didn't pass would be fired. Huiju wondered why they didn't just fire them directly instead of doing it like that. Mujin explained that there was once a company that also fired workers, as his sister said, and the result was being sued for violating the labor contract. Then, the person in charge at that time rose up to help other workers fight for justice. And now that person has also become a congressman. But since a new law was enacted for workers over 55, this university has been using the method of creating tests to force workers to quit because they can't stand it. So his 2 younger siblings started cursing them. They're truly educated bastards. That evening, Mujin went to the convenience store he usually frequented, and was given a can of beer by the younger guy working there. He said thank you for helping him out with a drunk person last time, and conveniently told him that he had a new job, and today was his last day working there. To celebrate, Mujin asked if he wanted to go eat somewhere. We definitely have to go eat chicken by the Han River. So this younger guy immediately agreed, making Mujin promise to treat him that day. So, to find evidence that this university was mistreating workers, Mujin and his 2 younger siblings started interviewing each and every janitor at this university to see if this place was making workers work too much, and how much their salary, bonuses, and meal allowances were, and finally, if they were forcing everyone to do anything. After returning to discuss things, Huiju was curious. If taking this test wasn't against the law, then surely not taking the test wouldn't be against the law either. Not to mention, it wasn't a reason to fire the workers. So, to get everyone on board, Mujin asked Huiju to call Mr. Zhang Ji back and say that Mrs. Unja's son wanted to treat everyone to a black bean noodle dinner. After everyone arrived at the black bean noodle restaurant, Mujin stood in front of everyone and began to talk about why everyone was having to take tests at that university. Everyone's colleague, Ms. Yong-suk, had passed away at home just from studying too much. And the underlying cause, everyone probably knew, was this test. It seemed to have an effect, but some people here wanted to just accept their fate. They didn't want to be fired because they knew what Mujin was trying to do, and they didn't want to participate in protesting this matter. Some were proud of this job. Thanks to it, she could support her whole family. So she also didn't want to lose her job. Mrs. Unja saw everyone interrupting her son, and couldn't stand it anymore, and told everyone to be quiet and let her son speak. I know no one wants to lose their job, even if those people throw trash everywhere. But try to think about the fact that no one respects you at all. If you fail the test, you get fired, but we still do it. And in the end, we all get fired anyway. A friend who used to clean toilets with me just recently passed away. Because of this, Mujin saw an opportunity and continued to get everyone on board, saying this university used the test to justify firing people. And not only that, they also held tests on rest days. According to the law, forcing workers to take tests on these days is like working overtime and must be paid. And on top of that, they must be paid time and a half. This hit everyone hard emotionally because, now on these days, they weren't being paid and were also being fired. Mujin hit everyone's sore spot, successfully making them want to stand up and demand their rights at this university. At this moment, the school managers were panicking, because Mujin had led the group of janitors to protest at the school. His younger brother, Gan-un, was in charge of recording videos to upload to YouTube to protest and demand rights for the workers. The person in charge came out, and Mujin yelled in his face, saying he was just exercising the right to collective action, according to the Constitution, and demanding justice for the workers. Huiju added fuel to the fire. You used tests to fire everyone. It's truly a prestigious university, behaving improperly. While the protest was getting more intense, suddenly the police appeared out of nowhere to arrest Mujin for violating the assembly and protest laws. After being taken to the station to talk, Mujin wasn't worried, saying everyone has the right to freedom of speech and to keep protesting without fear of being taken away. After being taken to the police station, Mujin and the police officer argued heatedly about the protest incident. He was constantly accused of disturbing public order. The police officer told him that, as a lawyer who understood the law, he shouldn't argue back anymore. Going to the station is unavoidable now, sweetie. Meanwhile, his sister-in-law was so upset about this whole thing that even buying things to take home for her sister made her annoyed. Basically, her sister didn't care about her brother-in-law at all, and didn't even ask about her brother who had been arrested by the police. After being married for so long and getting divorced, she's this indifferent. Hearing that, the next day, while Mu Jin was pacing back and forth in the jail cell, to the point where other inmates were getting annoyed, he was released. He thought these guys had given up on him, but then he saw his wife, and it was like seeing a lion in the house. So after being bailed out, the two of them sat down together for lunch, and Mu Jin looked like such a glutton, taking big bites and blowing on his hot mouth, exactly like when he and his wife were in love at the beginning of that year. Just thinking back to this scene sent shivers down Mi Ju's spine. During the meal, seeing his ex-wife complain about the heat, Mu Jin immediately went and bought her an ice cream, saying, "You like this, and what does a little diet hurt?" She asked curiously. "You didn't spit on the ice cream, did you? And what was that message you sent the other day?" He remembered the other day, he was about to send her the name of a restaurant, but the driver started yelling, and he wasn't paying attention and just sent the word, "Thanks." He really didn't know how to explain, so he said he was thanking her for this and that, and for helping him get out of jail today. Even though they were divorced, they still looked at each other affectionately. Mi Ju also heard about her husband being arrested for protesting, but she didn't think it was that serious that he would be arrested. Suddenly, Mu Jin turned and told his wife to come home. What he had done wrong before wasn't so bad that his wife had to leave. Mi Ju staying at her sister's place for so long was a lot of pressure on her sister. And he didn't forget to remind his wife to send him pictures occasionally either. "I'm so lonely, it would be even better if you send videos too. It's true that being far away makes the heart grow fonder, but close up, it's just annoying." As for the janitor team, after the protest, the school authorities sent people to break into and empty out the break room. Mu Jin said if they wanted to strike, everyone had to first form a union to negotiate with the university. Mr. Zhang Ji heard this and told Mu Jin to just form a union right away. If they stopped here, the janitors would be treated even worse. So everyone started competing to collect information from each janitor. All they needed was to write a simple application to join in forming a union, and write the name of the person they wanted as the head of the union. The founding ceremony of the Hankook University Janitors Union was also established, with the person everyone trusted and voted, for the most being Mr. Zhang Ji. On the first day as union president, he didn't know what to say much, so he just wanted to say one thing: "Let's win this fight this time." So the union side began to negotiate, and presented 3 demands to Hankook University. First, abolish the unfair test. Second, reinstate Miss Mi Suk. Third, acknowledge that the deceased janitor Yong Suk died due to work pressure. But even though a union committee had been formed, the school side remained indifferent, and argued that the test was just to improve everyone's awareness. And if these illegal actions continued, the school would have to reconsider renewing contracts for everyone here. Regardless of what the school wanted to do, Mr. Zhang Ji continued to hold a union meeting to inform everyone that 80% of the janitors here supported striking. So he also solemnly declared that they had to fight for justice for the workers who were being oppressed. The banner, "Won't stop until Hankook University restores justice," was also hung up, and everyone began to chant slogans demanding their rights and reinstating those who were unfairly fired. The protest went on like this for several days. Mu Jin, worried about his mother, also went to visit her and told her to go home and rest. But she said the protest couldn't go on without her. The trash at the school started piling up. Mu Jin's protest group was quickly summoned to the office for a meeting. The whole group continued to chant victory slogans. But this time, what caught everyone's eyes were students demanding a meeting. The school's janitor manager said today was a get-together between the two sides. Seeing Gone on filming, he didn't forget to remind him that it would be great if he sent the footage from today to the school. Just by looking, you could tell the students were being forced to participate in this confrontation. The students said this strike and protest were affecting their studies. The students said if they didn't cancel the strike, they would report it to the police. Mu Jin was curious why the victims, like the janitors, were being treated as troublemakers. The students said they only cared about their studies and just wanted to know who was affecting their learning, not the origin of the issue. Hui Ju angrily said that if they treated them like this today and made them go through such things, in the future, they themselves would also have to face similar oppression. The students still arrogantly looked down on the janitors, because we're going to be lawyers, not janitors, so we don't need to worry. Because these students weren't cooperating, the protesting janitors started losing confidence. And Mu Jin also thought they should withdraw to prepare more thoroughly, but his mother disagreed. If they had started, they had to see it through, because after this time there likely wouldn't be another opportunity to demand their rights. And who knows if the school would just let this matter go. Everyone agreed with this idea, no matter what. They had to show those people the power of unity. So Mujin immediately came up with a way to write personal stories to hang on the school walls. Just as he was wondering if anyone would volunteer, his mother's deceased friend raised her hand. At this point, Mrs. Unja spoke up and said she would share her own story. As a janitor born into a poor farming family, who grew up without a father or mother and without much education, even though I've done countless jobs like collecting bus fares, being a factory worker, and a seamstress, I've done every job. Even though I've been cleaning here for 25 years, I feel incredibly proud and happy to see the students have a clean environment to study in. Then she also started talking about how the janitors had to take tests that had nothing to do with cleaning, which made her feel incredibly scared. If I could help students study in clean classrooms, I could scrub and clean the classrooms a million times. But those tests, I don't want to do it all. I hope the students can understand what the janitors are going through. When everyone read the story, they all felt as if Miss Yong-suk was truly there. During the meal, Miss Yong-suk also thanked Mujin and said his mother was proud of him and always talked about how wonderful he was. She has such a smart and amazing son. However, not long after, his two younger siblings called Mujin and told him that instead of sympathizing, the students at this school were blaming the janitors because the strike caused trash to pile up and not be cleaned. Everyone could tell right away that the school had made the students do this. People seemed to be getting discouraged about this, and almost everyone left, leaving only Mujin's mother and the three of them behind. Suddenly, 3 students walked by buying some supplies, saying they supported everyone standing up and protesting for their rights. These 3 students thought it was strange, just hearing about the janitors being forced to take tests. When his younger brother, Gan-un, stepped forward to thank them, the students recognized him. "You're the newly popular idol, Ganjang TV on YouTube, right?" Hearing that people were supporting them, Mujin's team seemed to regain motivation. Mujin wished things like this could spread more widely. The whole group seemed to forget that his younger brother, Gan-un, was a live streaming master with almost 1,000,000 subscribers, specifically over 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. This was no problem for him at all. So the whole group started planning. Someone had to go undercover and infiltrate that test room, and no one was more suitable than Mujin's mother. So on the day of the test, Mrs. Unja had new glasses, and luckily the test proctor didn't recognize her at all. The live broadcast also started recording and went on air. Hello everyone, welcome to Ganjang TV's live stream. Today we're going to talk about janitors having to dress formally just to take a test that's used to fire them. The test questions also started being shown. A former student in the comments even commented, "Even I couldn't answer the difficult questions in here." It started to get more exciting when those who couldn't do the test were called up and reprimanded. Mujin told his mother to get closer to this manager so everyone could clearly see his true face. Suddenly, one of this manager's subordinates saw that he was being live streamed and started asking everyone, "Who's using a phone to film me here? This is cheating." Comments started pouring in like rain, and some people even donated tens to hundreds of thousands of one just to cheer and shout. The school principal at that time also started receiving many phone calls, informing him to handle this situation properly before things got worse. Donations started pouring in non-stop. Someone even donated 100,000 won with a request to go to the scene to film to their heart's content. His younger brother, Gan-un, said he wasn't doing it for money, but because everyone is clamoring and requesting so much, we have no choice but to carry out justice. What can we do? After this incident, the number of subscribers increased continuously, and even Mujin's wife was shown the biggest busting scandal in school history by her colleagues. Standing in front of the school manager, reporter Gan-un asked, "Why are you forcing the janitors to take these difficult tests? Here are gathered veteran janitors who are gradually being fired just because of these tests." The manager then stepped forward and said everyone was voluntarily taking the test. But Huiju stepped forward and said, "This is exactly what threats are." He couldn't argue back and demanded to work with the law. So Mujin had the opportunity to step forward and introduce himself. "If you want to work with the law, that's fine. I'm here to protect oppressed people unconditionally." Labor lawyer Mujin is also here to rescue everyone. He started going in front of the school manager and telling him that he had even publicly revealed scores, colluded to commit defamation, and abused his power to look down on working people, not to mention damaging other people's property, because those items weren't cheap. This guy still stubbornly said that everyone here didn't have the right to speak. So Mujin's mother asked, "We don't have the right? We're all human beings with freedom of speech, so we don't have the right? Is it worth it to just do whatever you tell us to do like this? The more we endure oppression, the more these guys push us around." She started asking this guy about the questions in the test that they gave, and if he even knew them. The person in charge at this time started scrambling and didn't know how to answer. Mu-jin's mother even asked about the school song to see if he knew it. He said that no one here had ever cared about those stupid songs. Because of this statement, he would soon be slapped in the face. Mr. Zhang Ji started singing and stood up. And not only that, the other janitors had also learned this song, just to turn the tables at the last minute. Coincidentally, these events were also seen by the publisher, who was a former student of Hankook University. He demanded to work with the school's leadership immediately. Former students who graduated from Hankook University also quickly arrived at the school, all of whom were big shots in the business world. When they learned that their alma mater was so rotten, they demanded that the school take immediate action, because this incident not only tarnished the reputations of these business people, but also insulted them. So the principal had no choice but to announce that all the mistakes were the school's, promising to completely resolve this matter. To celebrate, his two younger siblings invited Mu-jin to eat, but he didn't really want to eat and told them to go. Suddenly, his younger brother, Gan-un, started acting like a fool, telling Hui-ju, "Look at this, even just for a split second, I already miss you." Everything was going well, but suddenly he started acting strangely, doing who knows what, making her angry. Finally, Mu-jin was able to get justice for his mother's friend. She was extremely grateful to him. Not only that, but Ms. Mi-suk, who had been fired, also returned. Mu-jin said, "Now you can rest in peace, and I'll take care of your dog." Mu-jin's mother, seeing this scene, also felt a little worried. "Why are you suddenly talking to the air?" Suddenly, Ms. Yong-suk told Mu-jin a little secret, saying he would understand when he got home. Meanwhile, in the janitor's restroom, everyone was celebrating the return of their friend Mi-suk, and everyone shouted in unison to welcome Ms. Mi-suk back. Back home, Mu-jin's mother also sighed in relief, because her friend had finally rested in peace. And she conveniently tried to call the dog to eat, but it didn't respond. At this time, Mu-jin remembered that Miss Yong-suk had told him a secret in the afternoon, telling him that this dog's name wasn't Salt but Pepper. He told his mother, and sure enough, calling Pepper worked, and Pepper approached them, considering them its new owners. While he was getting ready to go out, his troublemaker siblings called, and told Mu-jin to quickly come to the hospital, because they were injured. But when he just arrived at the hospital, Mu-jin immediately met his friend from the convenience store, asking why he was here. This younger guy, Yoon-jae, didn't know why either. All he knew was that when he woke up, he was already here. Mu-jin looked in the mirror, and realized that this younger guy had become a spirit long ago. After finding out his brother Yoon-jae from the convenience store had to go to the hospital, Mu-jin tried to encourage Yoon-jae to hang in there and not do anything crazy, because he could still be saved. After that, the doctor called Yoon-jae's sister. She told Mu-jin that someone from Jimo Mart had come by earlier. Also, Yoon-jae's sister had received news from her brother that he had found a job and she didn't have to worry anymore. Mu-jin asked her if she knew if he had any illnesses. Besides that, he also wanted to find out why Yoon-jae had a stroke at work. Yoon-jae's sister was worried about the cost of hiring a lawyer, but Mu-jin took the case for free, just because this younger brother was someone he really liked. After the consultation, Mu-jin went back to see his two younger siblings, and when he asked, he found out that these two were planning to film a mukbang vlog, then got food poisoning, and ended up in the hospital. Currently, Mu-jin also told his two younger employees about his situation. This time, the person he met was the spirit of the younger brother who worked at the convenience store. Gan-un was curious. Not only can you see the spirits of dead people, but you can also see the spirits of sick people wandering around? Mu-jin didn't know either. Right now, he couldn't even see that younger brother Yoon-jae anywhere. He was being haunted by the younger brother's pressured expression. When his brother Gan-un started asking Mu-jin about information Yoon-jae knew, Mu-jin had something to say. The friend had fainted while working at a shopping mall, so the three of them started going there together to ask the colleague pushing the cart to find out what the work situation was like here. According to what he knew, a few days ago Yoon-jae felt dizzy and had chest pains. The weather here was hot, but the people working didn't have proper breaks. Supposedly, every hour, a worker here is supposed to get a 15-minute break, but these people shared that they only got 15 minutes every 3 hours. Also, there was no air conditioning, and this one Sikh guy even lost 2 toenails while working. While sharing with Mu-jin's group, he was called back by the manager, who told him to focus on work. Mu-jin saw the manager and quickly introduced himself, and conveniently asked the manager if they could talk about the worker named Yoon-jae. Unlike the harsh conditions outside, the parking garage in here had the air conditioning blasting at full power, with a pretty low temperature. Mu-jin found this quite contradictory, since the company said they wanted to minimize costs. but they let the employees down here blast the air conditioning at full power. The manager said that outside there, they worked normally, even 40 to 50-year-olds could do it. She thought that Yoon Jae was the one who wasn't strong enough to work here. Moo Jin said that he was just a lawyer representing him here, and didn't intend to argue or debate about Yoon Jae's work situation, just to ensure his rights. So Moo Jin wanted to see the surveillance footage from 3 days ago. However, the manager said that this was a foreign company with a branch in Korea, and she didn't have any authority over this matter. So the three of them had to go back. Moo Jin told his two brothers that even if this was a foreign company, if it was working in Korea, it had to follow Korean law. Moo Jin didn't forget to thank Won Sik for sharing all the information here and gave him his business card. He also received a notification about Yoon Jae's medical condition. Meanwhile, Yoon Jae was wandering around, going to see his nephew at the park. Yoon Jae has a sister and a nephew named Ju Chan. The two of them really loved each other so much that the nephew gave him a piggy bank just hoping he would put money in it and give it back to him on his birthday. Seeing Ju Chan, Yoon Jae could only apologize for not being able to keep his promise on that birthday. Coming back to the hospital, he caught his sister and Moo Jin talking about his situation. So he just left, making Moo Jin wonder and run after him, asking him where he was going. Yoon Jae didn't want to live anymore because he was making his sister struggle, and if he kept living, it would add to the burden of hospital bills for his sister, not to mention the student loan. Yoon Jae had imagined his life turning over a new leaf, but Yoon Jae thought that life always treated him unfairly, and just hoped that Moo Jin wouldn't waste his efforts anymore. He wanted to rest because he had worked his whole life. Seeing his trembling back disappearing, his physical condition worsened, and he needed surgery urgently. The sister didn't know what to do but cry for her poor, struggling younger brother. After returning to the labor office, the younger brother Ganon sent an email to the company, but never received any feedback. The younger brother Ganon told Moo Jin to try asking for advice from God or Buddha. But you can't just meet them whenever you want, right? If you could meet them, there would definitely be a way. Initially, the three of them started doing summoning rituals and stuff, but it didn't have any effect. So the two younger siblings remembered the times Moo Jin froze due to accidents. So Huiju tried to use a stun gun on her brother for not being able to do his job. But because this method was too strong, the two younger siblings decided to choke their brother, to the point of going to heaven to meet the Grim Reaper. And even when he went to the other world, Moo Jin had to admire how reckless these two younger siblings were. While he was there, Moo Jin also asked how he could save his younger brother Yoon Jae, because he just kept avoiding Moo Jin whenever they met. The Grim Reaper thought that he just had somewhere he wanted to go, and couldn't be away for too long, and told Moo Jin not to keep coming here and to leave. You guys can handle this without our help. Just like that, Moo Jin was kicked out and woke up. In front of him were his two younger siblings, who were planning to give him a few blows while he was unconscious. Luckily, he woke up quickly, otherwise his teeth and lips would be mixed up. Then the younger sister Huiju curiously asked if he met God or Buddha. Oh yeah, he did. Seeing his two younger siblings asking him questions non-stop today, Moo Jin wondered why the two of them were in sync. But seeing that their brother really met them, Huiju was about to say hello, but Ganon grabbed her collar and restrained her. But how could he control this girl? At this time, Yoon Jae's colleague also sent a message about the number of steps he had taken in a day. Just starting work, he had to walk up to 40 km during his work time. Now the team had more evidence of labor exploitation. So the younger brother Ganon started applying for a trial job at this shopping center, working to the point of being exhausted, and his heart rate increased, making Huiju worry non-stop. The older brother Won Sik also came by to greet Ganon, so he was going to offer him a bottle of water, but Won Sik refused to take it, because if he drank water, he was afraid he would have to go to the bathroom, and the bathroom was very far away. Not to mention today was a fairly crowded day at the shopping center, so Won Sik didn't dare to rest or drink water, not even a little bit. In weather of 36, 39 degrees like this without water in his body, his heart rate always high, was enough evidence to prove the treatment here was really not good. Won Sik also subtly reminded Huiju to stand far away and film so as not to be noticed, pretending like he didn't know anything. While he was working, some crazy guy driving a car crashed into the pile of carts. And because he wanted to be compensated, he called Ganon over and made him pay, even though he didn't do anything. Luckily, Huiju was nearby filming and caught the scene of him acting like a victim. So she came over to threaten him that if he kept demanding compensation, she would report him to the police, which made this guy too scared and he ran away. It really was a bad day. After a day of trying to work and gathering information at the shopping mall, the younger brother Ganon successfully created a short video about a young man in his 20s who was exhausted while working. from his heart rate constantly increasing for a long time. This young man had to work in a hot environment for 3 hours without a break. The video about labor exploitation was posted on Gan Eun's Ganjang TV channel. This younger brother also had to admit that during this trial, he really looked tired. Seeing Gan Eun resting his head on his older brother's shoulder, Hui-ju was a little jealous, telling them to stop cuddling. After posting the video exposing Yoon Jae's workplace, it seemed like it would have a positive impact. But all the comments said that he was just complaining about working a little bit. Gan Eun immediately knew that these were comments from the company where Yoon Jae worked. Moo Jin suddenly realized that his younger brother, Yoon Jae, had just had a health checkup. So he went to meet his sister, to ask if he could go to Yoon Jae's house to take a look, because he needed more evidence for this case. Moo Jin wanted to find a health checkup document there, and believed that it would be useful. After finding out the address, the three of them, Moo Jin, were immediately at Yoon Jae's house, only to see that this younger brother was really good at school, with many different degrees. After rummaging around for a while, the group found Yoon Jae's health checkup document. It showed that all his indicators were very normal before he started working at that shopping mall. So, that evening, the group went home and immediately thought about how to prove some more factual evidence. Hui-ju suddenly called everyone over and said that a gas station employee had commented that they had previously hired this friend who had the stroke. And hearing that he was sick, he felt very sad. The next day, the people from the shopping mall sent an email back to Moo Jin's group, because some people on social media had found the CEO's personal account and messaged them directly about this case. And because of the serious issue, the CEO had agreed to provide video footage. They also agreed to compensate the hospital bills. It really was the best possible news of the day. Hearing this news, Moo Jin hurriedly reported it to Yoon Jae's sister, telling her she didn't have to worry about the hospital bills anymore. Yoon Jae's family also came to visit him, and the nephew Ju Chan was on the side hoping he would wake up soon and play with him, and put the robot that he liked the most next to Yoon Jae. When they had just left, Yoon Jae reappeared, making Moo Jin wonder where he had disappeared to all this time. Yoon Jae said he just went to the place he needed to go to learn how to be a person. He was cool in front of his nephew Ju Chan, and Moo Jin wished he could beat this brother up to wake him up. Only by really waking up could Yoon Jae become a cool uncle in front of his nephew. So, to help Yoon Jae feel better, Moo Jin took him on his convertible and went out for a drive to cool off. The younger brother wondered how someone who couldn't even afford to pay for goods at the convenience store could afford such a fancy car. Moo Jin told his younger brother to become a labor lawyer like him, and he could have one too. It's a little hard to believe, actually. Moo Jin shared that he himself had once been incredibly stuck, just like his brother Yoon Jae. Life seemed suffocating and quite bleak, however. There would be light at the end of that road. After getting to the sea, Yoon Jae was excited because he had never seen such beautiful scenery in person before. Meanwhile, his younger brothers, Gan Eun and Hui-ju, went to meet the gas station owner, who used to hire Yoon Jae. In front of the camera, he expressed his anger that such a hardworking person would be criticized on social media. So he had to stand up to protect some of the people being bullied, those who didn't know anything and only knew how to comment nonsense on social media. While they were filming, some new comments suddenly came in, but this time they were more positive. The former owners who had hired Yoon Jae all came to defend him, saying he was a quiet person and treated his colleagues very well. Everyone felt sorry after hearing this news, unlike the early days when all the comments were negative from that shopping mall. As for Yoon Jae and Moo Jin, they were comfortably enjoying a moment that they hadn't had in a long time. Moo Jin said that at this point, they should eat raw fish, or at least eat chicken at the Han River. I promised you, so wake up quickly. His brother Yoon Jae had to give in to his stubbornness. If he hadn't achieved his goal, he wouldn't let go of this younger brother. He had to admit that this younger brother looked good when he smiled. Yoon Jae said that he had always looked good. After talking for a while, Moo Jin even asked this younger brother to work under him, to establish a labor law firm, and Moo Jin would be the leader. He painted a great picture, but he should only think about that when it's big. The younger brother extinguished the dreams of his older brother. The positive comments about the case were getting more and more. Seeing this, Yoon Jae's sister only hoped that her brother would wake up soon. And then the case of his brother Yoon Jae having a stroke was quickly broadcasted on television through Gan Eun's friend Yeo Jin, making him admit that his friend looked pretty on TV. Hui-ju, feeling a little jealous, told Gan Eun to give her his hand. Give me some of your cleverness when you're in front of someone you like. All you do is praise others. Gan Eun immediately asked for some of Hui-ju's sensitivity. Now, give me back a little of yours. These two should fall in love quickly so everyone doesn't have to wait so long. Suddenly, information appeared on the phone that a celebrity with 10 million followers shared the video. The two excitedly hugged each other. They were happy. It's true that everything this time wasn't too difficult for everyone. In the hospital, Yoon-jae, thanks to the efforts of his acquaintances and himself, had woken up in front of his nephew and sister. The next day, while going shopping to celebrate Yoon-jae waking up, Hui-ju seriously told Gan-eun to stop their relationship. Thinking he had done something to upset Hui-ju, she just wanted them to end the ambiguity and become lovers. On their first day of dating, Gan-eun wondered why she had decided like that. Hui-ju told him he had met 5 conditions that she had set. The first time was taking off his blue coat at the hospital, successfully escaping. The second was his effort when pushing the cart. The third was his accurate English pronunciation when contacting the CEO of the shopping mall. The fourth was putting the coin in to help Yoon-jae for his nephew. And the last was when Gan-eun spoke sincerely with Min-eun's mother. That was a long time ago, but Hui-ju was still touched. So Gan-eun hugged Hui-ju. "You look so charming." These two probably don't know that there are relationship gods. And while everyone was celebrating Yoon-jae's discharge from the hospital, these two bluntly announced their relationship, making the older brother immediately think about the relationship god. After that celebration, the 4 of them started riding bikes together. And suddenly a familiar face made Mu-jin immediately recognize it as the Grim Reaper. So he shouted and told everyone to chase after that person. Since the Yoon-jae case, Mu-jin's law office was as empty as a deserted temple. No ghosts came by to book cases, leaving everyone unemployed. Suddenly, Mu-jin's old lawyer friend from the hospital called and told him to visit, because he had an accident. The 2 younger siblings were suddenly curious, not thinking that their recluse brother had friends. At the hospital, this old lawyer friend introduced him to everyone. Mu-jin is a labor lawyer who didn't mind coming all the way here to visit me. Mu-jin, while pushing the cart, said, "I knew you would have an accident because of alcohol." Mu-jin could only advise his friend not to drink anymore and to live carefully. Just as he was leaving the hospital, Mu-jin suddenly met a group of workers who were shouting, "Fire, fire," and limping into the hospital. He immediately knew that there was a new case to make a video and upload to YouTube. Then back to a time before, these workers were workers at a warehouse factory, including a young worker who looked quite young, like a rookie. Everyone advised this young man to work hard here because the salary was pretty good. Suddenly outside the door, a little smoke flared up, which made this young man notice. The others saw this younger brother standing there blankly and started to pay attention, only to see that the fire had started to spread. Then other workers outside also started to see smoke, quickly ran to report to the factory manager, and he quickly let everyone out to put out the fire. Because the factory wasn't equipped with specialized firefighting equipment and wasn't covered with an isolation layer, the fire spread very quickly, and the fire extinguisher couldn't be used because it was too old. Suddenly, a person who was trying to use the fire extinguisher, the extinguisher exploded, killing him in front of everyone immediately. The manager, because he was too scared, told everyone to try to put out the fire while he drove away. And the people inside, because they couldn't escape, were suffocated to death. So when his 2 siblings were eating lunch at home, his older brother Mu-jin called everyone in, making his 2 siblings wonder if there was a ghost here. Not just one ghost, but a whole group. The news on TV also reported on the recent factory fire, and it was learned that all workers were not allowed to carry their phones to work, so no one could call for fire trucks in time. Everyone in the office sadly started blaming that manager Choi. Many people had wives and children waiting for them to come home. Gan-eun found that a few years ago, there were a few similar cases. They didn't equip fire prevention equipment to minimize costs, leading to the fire spreading quickly and many deaths, then taking out insurance payments for the damage and the warehouse being burned. They were really companies that skirted the law. While Hui-ju was getting a headache, the older brother stopped her and said that these seats were taken. According to Gan-eun's investigation, these cases were rarely cleared of wrongdoing, but Mu-jin assured everyone here that the perpetrators would definitely be punished. As for the company behind that warehouse, the leaders of the Myeonggum Construction Company had planned to eliminate and capture manager Choi from the factory. Even though he had worked there for 25 years, the director still didn't trust him very much, wanting to cut off the trail completely. As for manager Choi, he also didn't know how to handle this case. The police only advised him to go home and prepare himself for civil lawsuits. But as soon as he left the police station, manager Choi was taken into a car by the people from the construction company. They only knew about receiving information about eliminating manager Choi and receiving money for their work. Knowing he was in danger, Choi didn't stay still but deliberately caused trouble, swerving the car all over the street just to be able to go home. After a struggle, he was able to open the car door and roll out, then successfully escape from being captured. Meanwhile, the workers who were burned to death were still at Mu-jin's office, wondering why they couldn't leave this place. Someone said that ghosts are usually attracted to people who can clear their grievances, But this labor lawyer didn't seem very trustworthy. Mu Jin, who was napping, felt a headache and woke up asking everyone why they kept staying here. Someone stood up and said they had tried, but in the end, they were blown back here. The two troublemaker siblings then came to show Mu Jin the footage from last night of two people who had kidnapped a man just as he left the police station, also recording the scene of that person trying to escape from the car. The ghosts who saw it immediately recognized it as Manager Choi, who had abandoned them to burn to death. As for the director of the construction company, he was angry with the subordinates who had been instructed beforehand, but they still couldn't capture that manager. If they didn't get the job done, they would all perish together. As for Mu Jin and his siblings, they began to speculate. It was possible that Manager Choi was captured to be blamed for not fulfilling his duty to prevent fires. They would find a new person, then start a new company, and then continued to do the same trick. As for Manager Choi, he didn't dare go home to his wife and children, afraid he would implicate them, so he could only hide everywhere. When he called home, his wife only advised him to surrender to the police. But how could Manager Choi surrender? Meanwhile, Gon Un already made a video accusing the Bukuk Transportation Company, which Manager Choi was in charge of. The number of views was extremely high, making him excited. Hui Ju, on the side, wondered when he had posted it. Hui Ju said that this case wouldn't be easy, because it was possible that Gon Un would be sued for posting false information. But his younger brother Gon Un only wanted to be a person of justice, bringing everything to light. What's more, reporter Park messaged to report that there would be a joint memorial service among the people who were victims of the fire. So the three of them quickly went to that funeral to prevent any settlements and reconciliation with the relatives, thinking everything would go smoothly. But as soon as they entered, Mu Jin's group was blocked by the homeowner Jiang Su, thinking the people in front of him were people who only knew how to smell money and go to it. The groundless insults made Hui Ju unable to hold back, and she shouted in his face, "We're here to help the victims find justice. Not to mention we're doing it for free, and you guys are saying we're here for money." The two of them almost started fighting. At this time, a man stood up and told Mu Jin that the relatives here could not accept the fact that the main worker in their family had just died like that. They were burned in the fire for days and then locked in a cold storage container. So no one wanted anyone to come here to reconcile. And that was right. However, Mu Jin and Hui Ju still wanted to find a solution for this case. Suddenly, Gon Un received a call from Manager Choi asking to meet. After getting in the car, Gon Un reported to Mu Jin that the area manager had proactively contacted him and had something important to discuss. The workers immediately eavesdropped. Mu Jin said that he would handle this case, because if there was any danger, he would be blessed by God and Buddha. But after going there, the people who died in the fire also followed Mu Jin, asking if he was planning to betray them. These people heard that Mu Jin was going to meet that guy, so everyone wanted to possess him just to punch him, because they didn't have bodies. While Mu Jin was struggling, Manager Choi arrived, making these people angry, starting to want to vent their anger on him. Dust began to cloud, making Mu Jin wonder why they could do that. The ground began to crack. Manager Choi was too scared and ran away, but not for long until everyone's anger reached its peak. The tornado caused Manager Choi to fall on his face and lose consciousness. At this time, everyone suddenly felt guilty for hurting someone else. They didn't know what they had done to make that cool tornado to punish the bad guy. But this wasn't what Mu Jin wanted, because revenge didn't have a good ending. Manager Choi, after waking up, immediately pleaded with Mu Jin, asking him to help him make amends to the unfortunate workers. Mu Jin said that those people were here with us. The only thing you can do is sincerely apologize to everyone. The workers didn't want the manager to just apologize superficially, but when they saw him kneel down in front of everyone, sincerely hoping to be forgiven, "I apologize to everyone for being too cowardly and running away. As the leader, I shouldn't have done that. I won't make excuses that I was following orders, knowing that it's too late to apologize now, and I don't deserve to be forgiven. I should have been the one who died." Everyone saw his sincerity and felt a little guilty. Mu Jin asked Mr. Choi. It seemed like he had something important to tell, right? So in front of Mu Jin, Mr. Choi admitted all the shortcomings in fire prevention at that company, saying everything that the leader there had hidden. Mr. Choi didn't forget to reveal to Mu Jin that in his refrigerator in that office, he had hidden all the evidence and recordings about what had happened over the past 25 years, hoping Mu Jin could bring this case to light. Suddenly outside, the bounty hunters came chasing after them, making Manager Choi tell Mu Jin to remember the USB, and then the two of them started to split up and run. Back home, Mu Jin's younger siblings were wondering where their brother had disappeared to. He hadn't texted them at all. They decided to go to the address that Yan Wu had texted to Director Choi. But when they got there, They couldn't find either their brother or Director Choi. So, they went to the police station to file a missing person report, but the police couldn't offer much help. After returning home, they worried because there was no news coverage of the warehouse fire. They started to wonder if their brother Mu Jin was buried somewhere. Suddenly, a news alert popped up. Director Choi, the CEO of Bukuk Transportation, had been arrested the previous night. And standing next to Director Choi, it was their brother Mu Jin. So, after Mu Jin was brought back to the station for questioning, when asked about his involvement, he just said he was a YouTuber out trying to get views. Seeing that Uncle Mu Jin was getting up in age, the police advised him to find a real job and stop causing trouble. In reality, Mu Jin didn't want to reveal that he was a labor lawyer with ties to Director Choi. After leaving the police station, he checked his phone and saw that his younger siblings had been calling his name non-stop since yesterday. Just hearing their calls gave him a headache. His siblings asked if he had found any leads from Director Choi. Mu Jin explained that the previous night, he had recorded evidence that Myeonggam Construction was the true owner of Bukuk Transportation. Documents related to that company were in a USB drive, placed in the refrigerator in the office by Director Choi. His siblings asked where Mu Jin was, so they could come pick him up. But suddenly he was grabbed by a group of strangers and shoved into a car, dropping his phone in the street. Jaeon-woo wondered, he's probably okay, right? But in reality, Mu Jin had been taken to a basement and imprisoned by Myeonggam Construction's men. That evening, the siblings only received a call from the police. They had recovered Mu Jin's phone. Hee-ju had to bail it out without knowing where her brother's current whereabouts. So they left everything behind to go look for the USB drive at Bukuk Transportation. When Mu Jin woke up, he saw a news report about the families of the victims who had died in the Bukuk warehouse fire. These people were shocked to see their family members, from whom they had long been estranged, suddenly reappearing to claim inheritance money. As if nothing had happened, they were truly squeezing every last drop. The victims' families wonder if Mu Jin was eliminated or not, whether the names Myeonggam Construction hired to shut his mouth before he could find the leads. A moment later, the gangsters returned. Standing in front of Mu Jin, they asked him if he had remembered anything, that there had to be a reason the two of them had set up a meeting. Mu Jin whispered in one of their ears. Choi messed up his role this time. With that, Mu Jin was beaten several times by the gangster. His face was hit to make sure it was even before he passed out. As for Director Choi, he was now facing the prosecutor. Director Choi asked him if Myung-an of Myeonggam Construction was the true owner of Bukuk. Would that really change anything? The prosecutor assured Director Choi that the case would be suspended and reinvestigated. Responsibility would shift to Myeonggam's side. There would be a thorough investigation into the fire, and the law might even be amended. Director Choi then revealed that he had a recording and evidence that he had retired and had been given money to manage the warehouse. There was a USB drive in his office refrigerator, containing evidence of all of that. After gathering all the information, the prosecutor dropped the charges. Now, Director Choi could be looking at several years in prison, and he could rest assured that he wouldn't be able to touch Chairman Kim. It turned out that this prosecutor was in Myeonggam Construction's pocket, there to extract information about what Director Choi still possessed. After Mu Jin woke up, the gangsters planned to use reverse psychology, tempting him with food, seeing if he would break down and reveal what he knew. But Mu Jin didn't say a word, so the gangster angrily threw the chopsticks and dumplings down, continuing to sit at the table to eat. Little did he know that his chopsticks would inadvertently become the key to Mu Jin's escape. While the gangsters were busy whooping, hollering, and singing karaoke, Mu Jin used the chopsticks to slowly saw through the rope that was binding him to escape. By the time the gangsters received orders to search for the USB drive in Director Choi's office, Mu Jin had already escaped, and since he was a little hungry, he grabbed a dumpling from the table for the road. Meanwhile, at Myung-an's construction company, he was furious that the lawyers he had hired couldn't get anything done, even after he had spent money to silence people. The lawyers suggested a way to expand their network that would benefit the company. That was to leverage a connection with Assemblywoman Moon. She was someone who specialized in pushing through policies that were favorable to businesses. To please the CEO, all they had to do was get in touch with her to prevent any future problems from those fake news reporters. Seeing the benefit, the CEO immediately set up a meeting with her to negotiate a deal. That night, the younger siblings, Jian-woo and Hee-ju, arrived at Bukuk Construction, broke inside, and started searching for Director Choi's office. Reaching the CEO's office, the two of them broke in and locked the door, starting their search for the refrigerator that Director Choi had mentioned. Opening it, there seemed to be a lot of stuff inside. After searching for a while, Hee-ju suspected that someone had already taken it. Just then, Jian-woo opened a container of chili paste and found the USB drive inside. But people from the construction company had arrived. The two immediately ran outside when Hee-ju suddenly stopped and started throwing things at the gangsters. It was a bit confusing why she didn't keep running, and instead stood there throwing stuff at them. After throwing everything, she intended to jump. Jian-woo yelled, "Jump, I'll catch you." In the end, Hee-ju fell on purpose, and then she threw Jian-woo into the bushes, before putting the security guard in a headlock. Right, so with her sister as her protector, he didn't need to worry. The two quickly returned to the car and drove off, unaware that the USB drive had fallen out. So they didn't have to find it, since the items dropped right into their hands. Hee-ju wondered, why are those guys so happy? Jian-woo then realized that the USB drive that she's holding wasn't it. All their hard work had been for nothing. When they got home, Moo-jin was on the phone when he noticed his younger siblings holding a broken USB. Seeing that his brother had some scratches, they asked him if he was alright, but Moo-jin didn't want to tell them anything and hid it. He then asked his siblings if they had found the USB. Jian-woo recounted the entire process from the moment they went to retrieve it to their escape back to the car. The result was the henchmen came, the scuffle with Hee-ju, and then they got the USB. His siblings wondered how Moo-jin had managed to escape being kidnapped by those guys. But Moo-jin seemed a bit tired and told them to go rest first. After going home, Moo-jin was like a lost soul, not wanting to talk to anyone. While eating breakfast, he heard the news on TV. Director Choi had committed suicide, the person connected to the fire that killed 8 people. This left Moo-jin not knowing what to do. The younger siblings, Jian-woo and Hee-ju, also learned the news. How were they supposed to find justice now? The witness had committed suicide, and even the evidence was lost by his siblings. Moo-jin seemed to have lost his fighting spirit, only wanting to go to sleep to forget everything. He couldn't sleep in bed, so he went to the sofa. The victims wondered why, and one of them stepped up. He said the older man probably felt so helpless that the witness and evidence were all gone. He has done all that he can. Days passed, and the younger sibling, Jian-woo, called, but Moo-jin didn't answer. Suddenly, Moo-jin jumped up, as if he had decided he had to do something. First, he went to Director Choi's funeral, offering his condolences to the witness's family. Afterward, he sat next to Director Choi's son, asking about the boy. He promised the child he would buy him a game console, because that was Director Choi's last wish before he was hunted. The workers now felt a bit guilty. At first, they only wanted an apology, but they didn't think that trying to silence them would go this far. At least they felt respected, but the person who deserved to be punished was still out there enjoying life. However, one person noticed the gangsters were outside. Everyone didn't know what they were going to do here. Moo-jin was curious and asked one of the workers what was going on. It turned out that these guys wanted to meet with Assemblywoman Moon. That very night, Moo-jin went home and looked up information about her. It was known that she tended to do everything that benefited businesses, not what benefited the workers. If the CEO of Myeongdong met with her and secured funding, then whenever there were more victims like the people here, no one would be able to do anything to them. The workers were upset, as they didn't know what to do. Moo-jin realized there was still something he could do. However, he couldn't involve his younger siblings in this. Seeing his brother dressed in a suit, the younger siblings were curious if their brother was attending Director Choi's funeral. If only they hadn't lost the USB to those bad guys that day. Moo-jin told his siblings to drop this case, because they were all already disabled. He didn't want to expose the truth, only to bury his ears, mouth covered. His siblings were confused why he was being so hesitant. Maybe he was bought out by Myeongdong? Moo-jin admitted that he had been bought out, leaving his siblings shocked and disappointed. He said that he couldn't work for free for the rest of his life. Hee-ju was sulky and left, feeling like she had believed in the wrong person. Jian-woo also felt just as disappointed, but this was something Moo-jin had to do, because what he wanted to resolve this time could not involve his younger siblings, and it would require the help of the spirits here. At the negotiation and signing between the CEO and Assemblywoman Moon, Moo-jin arrived at Myeongdong Group, preparing for the final battle. What he wanted to use in this battle was to take advantage of the power of the workers, just like everyone had used against Director Choi before, through their rage. Moo-jin tried to get everyone to get angry to see if their powers would erupt. But now there wasn't any gasoline to start a fire, so everyone's powers hadn't been activated yet. Remembering, everyone needed to feel their blood boiling, as if they wanted to defeat the enemy. Moo-jin decided to use psychological tactics. Are you all just going to live in humiliation for the rest of your lives? The strong remain strong, while the weak only know how to hide in a corner. You're so cowardly, so your lives are what they are. Like you, more than 800 people die every year from labor accidents in this small country. That's 15 deaths a week, and at least 2 healthy people die every day. Why does no one feel strange, and everyone just accepts this absurd and frustrating reality? Maybe you've become too comfortable with life, listening to everything you're told? These people started to get their blood boiling. It was the effect that Mu Jin wanted. Everyone, don't forget this feeling. While the CEO of the construction company and Assemblywoman Moon were negotiating a partnership, Mu Jin led his army of superpowered people. He declared that he was the Grim Reaper, dragging all of these people down to hell. The others thought Mu Jin came to perform a comedy show. He then used his vibratory powers and began to recount the crimes that CEO Kim had committed, forcing him to admit that he was the one who caused the fire at Bukuk Transportation, stealing the lives of 8 innocent people there. After that, he used money to force the despairing families to agree to settle the case. Not only that, but today they were colluding with a politician to protect their interests and protect themselves. One person tried to rush up to stop Mu Jin, but he was tied up on the wall with vines. "Answer me, Myung-an, prison or hell." The Assemblywoman screamed non-stop. Mu Jin had to use his magic to threaten these people, so that CEO Kim had to admit all of his crimes. In front of Mu Jin, he recorded everything and broadcast it live. And when one person tried to take Mu Jin's phone and delete it, it was useless because it was already being broadcast live, and he had already uploaded it online. Threatened, the CEO wasn't afraid, asking, "Are you messing with me? Try and bring out all your ghosts, you little punk." As soon as he said that, the ground began to shake, and the glass windows began to crack. It seems like forgiving a criminal was the stupidest decision I ever made. When he saw that these people were afraid and wanted to surrender, Mu Jin told the workers to stop. But no, they didn't do anything, but an earthquake really occurred. Just as his younger siblings rushed in, the room collapsed. After the house collapsed, Mu Jin woke up wondering why his younger siblings were here. Jian Wu said that from the moment he was kidnapped, he had secretly planted a GPS tracker. Then the house was gradually collapsing from the outside. The other people were frightened and ran to the elevator, but it collapsed. Immediately, CEO Kim wondered why this building was built so that it was so easy to fall. Assemblywoman Moon inside cried for help, hoping everyone could save her. CEO Kim's men tried, but it wasn't enough. He could only stand outside and give orders. One man blamed Mu Jin. "The building collapsed because of what you said." Mu Jin then asked, "Isn't it because you all like to cut corners on the construction?" The two sides kept arguing back and forth until Assemblywoman Moon screamed that the group stop. Saving people was much more important now. So Mu Jin found a metal bar at the door and used it to lift the bricks that were pressing on the Assemblywoman's leg. "These bastards help," and she pulls out her leg. Assemblywoman Moon screamed madly, thinking her leg was crippled. But Jian Wu said her leg only had a slight scratch. It was still fine. CEO Kim still thought it was Mu Jin's fault. The younger sibling, Jian Wu, then told him that he only knew how to squeeze the workers and tighten the budget. So that was why this building was easy to collapse. Just as he finished speaking, the house began to shake even more. A subordinate told the CEO to go to the roof because there was a helicopter landing pad there. So the group began scrambling to run up, ignoring the Assemblywoman. She was also afraid of dying, clinging to Jian Wu, asking him to help her. So the four supported each other and followed the others up to the landing pad. As they walked, Mu Jin said, "You were the one who came here to approve this CEO's dirty deals." It seemed that the Assemblywoman didn't know that she was being deceived by the CEO. After everyone reached the roof, the Assemblywoman asked the CEO how he could have built this building so poorly, causing it to collapse when it had just been prepared to be launched. As they were arguing, a subordinate reported to CEO Choi that the fire department could not send a helicopter here because the building was not registered. He scolded his subordinate only to realize that, to reduce costs, he had done a sloppy job, thinking it would be okay later, so there was no helicopter coming now. Even the Assemblywoman wanted to call the fire department, but she was turned off her phone because the fire department could not go against orders. The ground began to crack even more. The group had no choice but to run downstairs by the stairs. However, below was a large fire with a lot of smoke, so the group had no choice but to return to the old place. Now, CEO Choi was betrayed by the construction on which he had cut corners. He only knew how to blame his subordinates for having to do something, while nothing could be done in the current situation. Even the two workers who had just run in said that the fire alarm system here had been turned off, just because the construction boss wanted to finish construction quickly. These incidents happened because the CEO had the workers work even on rainy days, so the cement mortar didn't dry in time, leading to the building damaging a column. The guys behind the contract blamed the lowly workers. "You people don't know anything. Know your place because I pay you." But in a situation where the fire spread and the building collapsed, everyone was in the same boat. Just as the two sides were about to fight, smoke poured out from the elevator. Everyone tried to use towels and clothes to cover the elevator, and then started criticizing the CEO. "Why did you let these things happen? You're too greedy, you've devoured your own lifeline." The younger sibling, Jian Wu, blamed the CEO. Mu Jin then turned to ask the two workers if there was any way out. If there were, these two guys wouldn't be here, because the CEO had ruined the firefighting system. The assemblywoman started complaining. If I just get out of here, I will tighten the laws on work safety and severely punish those who violate accident laws. Take your dirty money and feed your body. The building began to tilt, and the ground began to crack, causing the CEO to cling to the worker and switch places with him. But instead of pulling him up, CEO Kim pushed the worker down, replacing himself with the dead man. He turned to ask Mu Jin, "You are a labor lawyer, right? I will compensate 100 million, no 200, 300. Seeing that he only treated human life as if it were trash, everyone began to despise him. He thought himself to be useful to the country, and that his death would be a loss of talent in the industry. Mu Jin and everyone now clearly saw his true face. The worker's friend wanted to rush up to take revenge, but he was stopped by Mu Jin and his two siblings, because revenge wasn't the only way. The worker wanted him to go to hell, and he stepped forward to curse. "Why do I have to go there? You're crazy, you dog." Just as he finished speaking, the ground beneath him began to shake. Mu Jin didn't know why he held him back. As a result, both he and CEO Kim fell into hell. However, Mu Jin was a prominent figure, acquainted with the gods. So CEO Kim went to the place that Mu Jin often goes whenever he is near death. The CEO was still blaming Mu Jin, and then he finally managed to save him, said he was hypnotized by it. The surrounding scenery suddenly turned red, and the vengeful spirits appeared, as if they wanted to drag this man down to hell, scaring him to beg for forgiveness. A voice sounded, "If you are allowed to live, what will you do?" Mu Jin told him to either answer what to do, or just die here and go to hell. Seeing the ghosts around him, he said that he would do anything. The workers who died in the transportation company appeared with the god. Mu Jin said, "These are the people from the fire that day. All of your responsibility." The god then took out a contract, but it wasn't in Korean. Mu Jin looked at it, pretending to read through it, and told CEO Kim to sign it, because it was all beneficial. The main task was to investigate and compensate for all accidents in 108 days. He immediately changed his attitude because he didn't want to spend the money. So the god reduced the time, only giving him 49 days to redeem himself. Otherwise, he would have to go to hell. Fearing hell, he had no choice but to use the blood on his hand to stamp the contract. If he went against the contract, he would immediately go to hell. CEO Kim then agreed, nodding repeatedly. This is where time goes back to when Mu Jin recorded a video of the former promising to do anything. Just now, it turned out that death has shown it a piece of the future. Realizing this building was dangerous, CEO Kim immediately told everyone to leave before everything collapsed. Even the two workers were given their seats, becoming better people. Back home, his subordinates asked him if he had to cancel the inauguration and repair everything. It would cost a lot of money. He thought he would put everything back in place, thinking that death would not come to him. But the light bulb above his head suddenly exploded. In his hand was the same blood mark as when he signed the contract. This deal would likely have to be repaired. So after Mu Jin received the news that CEO Kim would make amends, he announced it to everyone. That everyone just had to wait for him to keep his promise. From this incident, the council members started voicing concerns about the law, to violate it in labor incidents. Want to have everyone in the building seek help as well. Then, CEO Kim made a 180-degree turn with his team, and is now helping. So they have all his actions, and have been making sure everyone's security in the building, as he proclaims on social media platforms. So everyone will be at peace. As for Mu Jin, he was featured in the newspaper and became famous after the CEO Kim incident. He can come with many people as well, but he will have more workers, and his career will rise to the sky. After seeing the news, everyone felt happy because their deaths were not in vain. Because of them, others will avoid unfair deaths, so everyone feels much better. However, the unfortunate workers still had one request. That was to have Mu Jin take them to meet each of their loved ones, as a last look at their families before leaving this world. Mu Jin also agreed to them. Like this, the workers were able to meet their loved ones one last time before leaving this world. After everything was over, Mu Jin suddenly received a call from his wife, asked his siblings if he should answer it. His siblings thought the two were about to get back together. Mi Ju called to tell Mu Jin to go to his parents' house, because everyone was waiting for him there. As soon as he got home, Mu Jin's older brother appeared. "That's my brother. You look so posh ever since you were on TV. People say that when the rice ripens, it bows its head. But it seems like you're not only not bowing, but reaching higher and higher." Mu Jin then followed his brother home. Seeing his wife in the kitchen cooking, Mu Jin felt that everyone looked happier than usual. It turned out that his mother was smiling, because Mi Ju had decided to come back. Mu-jin didn't look excited, but he was probably very excited inside. It turned out that today was the death anniversary of Mu-jin's brother. He had passed away some time ago in an accident at a construction site. Not only that, but the company didn't take responsibility and even sent a wreath, causing Mu-jin to go completely insane at the time. During the meal, Mu-jin's mother said she no longer saw her son in her dreams. His brother said from one side, "Tell Mu-jin that he was all right." It turned out that his brother had passed away a long time ago. It was just that Mu-jin saw the ghost. So he saw his brother by his side. Seeing his brother, Mu-jin also shed tears, not thinking about how valuable a day with family could be. After the meal, Mu-jin thanked Miju for coming. His brother appeared after Mu-jin's wife went home, asking his younger brother if he knew what he regretted. That was not saying loving words to the people he loved. After saying that, his brother left because his business was over. He wished his younger brother a safe journey. The next day at the office, Mu-jin suddenly received good news that made his siblings curious. It turned out that the stock he bought earlier had increased by 730%. His siblings then told him to sell it and get back together with his wife. Listening to his siblings, he immediately sold it, even though he wanted it to increase a little more. His siblings advised him to use that money to make amends with Miju. These two siblings were trying to help Mu-jin get back together with his wife. So they went to Heju's and were lovey-dovey with each other, showing off their feelings in hopes their sister would get jealous. The sister tried to send Jianwoo away, but this was Heju's house, so she could only helplessly watch these two siblings flirt in front of her. So while his wife was walking her dog Puku, Mu-jin smoothly said that he had come to pick up the dog and her to go home. Miju was still sulky, saying, "Who wants to go home with you?" Then Mu-jin took out his pay stub, saying, "I've put most of my retirement money here to make up for my past mistakes with Miju." He promised not to make his wife feel lonely, that everything would be discussed with her. And more importantly, "I'm sorry and I love you, Miju." Seeing the money in his pocket, plus her handsome husband, Miju also agreed to make up with Mu-jin. However, there was one last thing that Mu-jin wanted to do, and that was to go find the god who had given him a second chance to redo his life with his siblings. The movie ends here. Please subscribe to the channel to look forward to other interesting movies.